We welcome you to Indianapolis for Division II football playoff action on ESPN+. My name's Jay Songe alongside Jake Hilton and Charles Foster providing color analysis today. Indianapolis, Truman State, a GLVC battle in the Division II football playoffs. Charles, we'll begin with you for your keys to the game for this Truman State Bulldog team at 8-3 on the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Truman State's really got to win that rushing attack, use Denham Cook every way they can. They also got to get Nathan Ryan involved. He's not been involved as much as they would like for him to be, and pressure Gavin Sukup. If you get him off his back foot, bad things can happen.
And then, Jake, looking at the Greyhounds, the GLVC champion this year, 10-1, 8-0 in conference play, defeating this Bulldog team earlier this year in Kirksville, Missouri. What are the keys to the game for them to win for a second time against this Truman State team?
Well, the Greyhounds have to win the battle at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. They've also got to get the running back going. Game. It opens things up. Gavin Sukup. And the biggest thing is the Greyhounds have to finish off drives. They had a couple of field goals against Truman State last time they played, so the keys for today, finishing off those drives, especially when you get into the red zone.
Looking at that matchup earlier this year, the Greyhounds went to Kirksville, and UIndy came out on top 30-20 in that ball game, led mostly by Justers Fataki in that ball game, having near 150-plus rushing yards and touchdown in that game. That two-headed backfield for the Greyhounds is going to be the big impact today.
And another guy to look out for is Alonzo Derrick. He's the best receiver on this squad, but it's talent all the way around. Marquise Gillum, he's the speedster. He's the deep threat for this team. That's why Gavin Sukup has been so good, is because he's had so many different options, and Truman State provides a similar attack on their offensive side, especially with Dylan Hare. Him in the run game as well as the passing game. They like to get him out of the pocket, especially in the red zone. It's where he does his damage. They roll him out, and he's able to hit his wide receivers pretty often in the end zone.
Truman State won the toss, elected to defer, so the Greyhounds will receive to begin this Division II football playoff game here at Key Stadium. On a beautiful afternoon in Indianapolis. Vinny Calvaruso to boot it off. It's going to be a short kick for the Greyhounds to return at the 24-yard line, which Ollinger will do. So he'll have some room down the near sideline and get hit down around the 40. So the Greyhounds will set up nicely at their own 40-yard line to begin this ball game, guys. Looking at this Greyhounds offense, though, led by quarterback Gavin Sukup, a two-time GLVC Offensive Player of the Year and one of the top quarterbacks in the nation this year.
Yeah, and I mean, taking a look at some of the things that he has done this year, he's first in passing efficiency as well as being first in completion percentage. He has been one of the best quarterbacks in the GLVC and especially in the nation.
And they'll begin as they go and send everybody out. Now 5 receivers, including the running back Garrett Sherrill. 5 receivers set for Sukup on the first play of action. Deep shot looking for Caleb Carver down the near sideline. Nobody will catch him, and the Greyhounds start exactly the way you'd want as Caleb Carver houses it.
And what a play there from Gavin Sukup. We see them there run the 5 out, not even trying to start it slow, not just trying to get the running back involved like we've seen them do so often. A first play touchdown. What a great time to start off this GLVC tournament, or this tournament game.
I was just getting ready to talk about this secondary, a guy, Dominic Grand. He's been one of the best defenders in the GLVC, really in all of Division II, but the Greyhounds opened the top up in the first play of the game.
One of those plays you work on all week in practice to exploit. Point after to make it 7-0 Hounds, just 13 seconds in, which Andrew Herron will convert. So just 13 seconds in, guys, the Greyhounds up by 7.
Let's break down that play real quick because you noticed, you said it, they sent everybody out wide. And then on the near side, right in front on the near sideline, there were 2 receivers. Caleb Carver was the one that the safety chose not to go with, left him wide open. It was a zone look for Truman State, and it was the wrong look for Truman State, unfortunately. That time, the Greyhounds make them pay for what you would consider almost conservative play calling. You look back to that first game, these squads were filling each other out in the first quarter. The Greyhounds, they're done with that. They felt this squad out enough in that first matchup. They're ready to go out and win this game. That's why they have a 7-point lead right now.
And now for Truman State, how do you respond to that? Just 30 seconds in, you watch your defense get lit up on the first play, and now you have to respond.
I mean, yeah, and it could be very easy to sit there and try and go for one of those plays yourself, but you got to play your brand of football, and that is the running game for Truman State. You cannot go out there and try and answer one back. You got to play your brand of football, get Denham Cook involved. That's what I'm doing if I'm Truman State here.
So the Greyhounds will boot it away just 13 seconds after getting this game going. Colin Seymour, the kickoff guy for the Hounds, and he will lay one towards the far sideline. and it will be returnable at around the 9. He'll come down and go to the 25-yard line. Will Thomas Pulliam run a touchdown return against this Greyhounds team back in Kirksville, 100 yards in the back of the end zone. This time, though, only getting to the 25.
And when you look back to some of those matchups where the Greyhounds struggled, it started with the special teams, that Findlay game that they lost. The change in momentum really happened on a fumble on the kickoff. So special teams plays a big part, and considering your head coach is your special teams coordinator, it weighs a little bit more on this Greyhound squad to do well in special teams.
Bulldogs looking to answer the running back, Denham Cook, one of the top guys in the conference, if not the best running back in the conference this year. He'll take the first down carry for about 4.
And we're looking at Denham Cook here. He was one of my key players this game, and we take a look at what he did last game against UIndy. He only had 45 rushing yards, was actually held down pretty well. This is the #1 rushing defense in the GLVC versus the #1 rushing offense. So we're going to see if Truman State can win that rushing battle, which they struggled with in their last meeting.
Truman State led by their quarterback, Dylan Hare, who's having a great year for himself. A dual-threat quarterback as dual-threat gets, having 700 rushing yards on the season, and he will look to run it on cue, and he'll get taken down for a few more yards. It'll be 3rd down and short for this Bulldog offense.
Right now, if you're Truman State, you're really trying to get comfortable. You're on the road in a playoff game against a ranked opponent, and right now, Truman State, they're not in comfortable territory. They haven't been in the playoffs since 1994. So right now it's about getting settled in. This is your first playoff game in a long time and one of the biggest games in school history.
And they have a 3rd down and 3 on their first drive since 94 in the playoffs. They'll send some motion of their own and bunch the guys on the near side. 3 yards to gain a first down. Hare will roll to his right, looking.
What they do very well with Dylan out of the pocket. He loves to do the fake lateral. I hate to say it, but it is a little Mahomey. He fakes the lateral, and it gets the cornerback to bite, and that's all he needs to hit that gap, and he's gone. He did it multiple times against Upper Iowa, who was arguably the 3rd or 2nd best team in the GLVC.
Mason Gessert on to punt after a 3-and-out, averaging about 39 yards per punt. And 39 punts this year. This one will be spiraling high into the Indianapolis sky, and Crowell will take the football at the 28-yard line.
And we take a look at Dylan Hare, as we just talked about. This is a guy that's going to be very big on his feet while also in the air. I mean, we talk about it. He's only has just about 100 yards less than Denham Cook, who is the GLVC rushing champion. So there's going to be a lot of read option here. There's going to be a lot of chance where they're going to make the defense have the pick between who they want, who's the bigger threat.
Greyhounds, 1 play, 1 score so far. Ball up, looks to throw once more. Looking downfield again. Another guy open down the near sideline. A catch is going to be made by Cole Bennett. That's going to be his and 6.
Dogs are missing assignments left and right, and it almost cost him another touchdown on that play.
Cole Bennett coming in this game, 3 catches, 3 touchdowns so far. His first non-touchdown catch of the season. The true freshman tight end, the Greyhounds utilizing these tight ends very heavily this season, especially in the recent weeks at least.
Well, your eyes are on all the other talent on the squad or on the field, and you're not really worried about the tight end all the time, but he makes you pay when you're not worried about it.
Crowell in motion on the far side. So looking over the middle, catch can be made by Alonzo Derrick. Derrick looking to spin around 1 down to the 10 towards the 5. Still on his feet, nearing the end zone. He loses the football. It's in the end zone. They're going to say he was down by contact. So they'll give Derrick the yards at the 2-yard line.
And they're going to try and see if they off before anyone has any questions on if he was down or not.
I think he was down pretty good.
So 1st and goal for the Hounds. Snap off in time. Hand off up the middle for Fataki. And Fataki will touch pay dirt. The Greyhound.
Well, there's clearly one team that is a step ahead of the other. The Greyhounds are prepared offensively. They knew what looks they were going to get on the defensive side, and they've really exploited the backside of this Truman defense, especially the safeties. They're going right at him every single time. There's a route running directly at the safety. He just isn't able to flip his hips and get back in protection.
Andrew Heron looking to make it 14-0 just a few minutes into this Division II playoff game. His kick up, his kick doinked, and no good. It'll remain 13-0 as Heron doinks off the left upright, so the Hounds just up by 13
It's his first PAT miss of the season. It was bound to happen at some point. He's 47 of 47. I guess 48 of 48, counting that last field goal. But unfortunately, that perfect streak comes to an end for Heron.
11:45 to go. Hounds up by 13. You're listening to Division II football playoff action on ESPN+. Three minutes and some change into this game, and the Greyhounds have already reached the end zone twice. They'll kick it back away to the Truman State Bulldogs as their offense looks to get something going. They went 3 and out on their last drive. The Greyhounds made them pay as Seymour will once again kick to that far sideline for an up man to return at the 20-yard line, not letting Truman State and their kickoff return team have anything. And that time on the return was Kendall Hammond.
And we look at Truman State coming into this one. I mean, already down 13-0 on, being on the road, and they've been getting attacked very quickly. We talked to Fataki just a few months ago. He said that this was the #1 offense in the country, that him and UIndy, they were going to be the #1 offense. And so far, at least in the GOVC, they have been right so far 2 months later and looking like it so far just 4 minutes in.
Bulldogs looking to have some offense of their own. Their quarterback, Dylan Hare, and motion Jackson Overton, the receiver, and he'll wrap around back to the near side. Hare looking that way, looking back across in the screen pass for the running back. He'll go down on the far sideline, gain about 7 or 8 yards. That'll be Elijah Stevens, the running back that time.
That had big play potential. Eli Leopis was able to come in there and make the tackle to keep it from getting to the first down marker. That could have went farther. And you look at this, there's a flag on the field, but UIndy came in and set the tone with those first 2 drives offensively. Now Truman State, there is no time to kind of work your way into this game. Now's probably the best time to pull out your big play. You got to answer with something on this drive. I don't think you can go scoreless against a home Greyhound defense that is proved to be one of the best in the nation.
That flag right where Jalen Gavon is standing right now. I think we're just going to call it no foul on the play.
So there was allegedly an illegal substitution, but they pick up the flag and say the player had exited the playing area prior to the snap. Therefore, it'll just be second down, no extra yards added.
So the 8-yard gain counts on the screen pass for Elijah Stevens. Second down and just 2 for the Bulldogs. Running back remains Stevens as he flips sides. They'll rip the ball away. Will Hare looking to run, but he has nowhere to go. Wrigley Franklin will track him down. Maybe a gain of a yard for Hare.
And just a beautiful read. You know that he's going to try and get on his feet. So the best thing that you got to do is you got to have someone, looking to see who's going to make that option there, the right read on that one, getting him for a tackle for loss.
This is something that Louisville did very good when they had Lamar Jackson. Getting him out of the pocket, he wasn't necessarily the most accurate, but just adding the threat of being able to run on your feet, it makes the linebackers, makes the safeties make a decision. Am I going to bite down on the run? Am I going to stay there for support? Am I going to get back in coverage?
Third down and short for the Bulldog offense. The running back is going to get ripped away again by Dylan Hare. Hare will have the first down as he pummeled out of bounds by DeBrence Johnson. The read option that time for Truman gets him a first down.
It's also going to be important for the Greyhounds defensive linemen, especially the edges like Royster, to stay home because they run a lot of trick plays like we just saw right there. A little misdirection. It's simply just the quarterback pulling it, but it's so convincing, and you have to worry about Denham so much in the run game that it gets the linebackers to bite down, which opens up a lot of running room for Dylan Hare, and he's benefited a lot from that this season.
Right at midfield, Truman State. Quarterback Dylan Hare takes the snap once more, looking to throw a quick pass. Is going to be, I think, caught, and a contested catch is going to be made. Nice job done by Nathan Ryan with Johnson all over him.
And Nathan Ryan, that was the man that we were talking about. Only had 2 catches in his last game against UIndy, but he is 4th in the GOVC in touchdowns. He is a touchdown machine, especially in that red zone there. They needed to get him more involved, the tallest receiver on the field, and a good job to get him involved within the first 5 minutes.
And that's smart for the offense of Truman, going at one of the younger players on this squad who doesn't see as many minutes in Johnson.
3 receivers to the top of your screen. First down and 10 once again for the Bulldogs, looking for a deep shot. Dylan Hare down the field for Nathan Ryan, and Ryan Pass ball's incomplete, no flags as DeBrinch Johnson in coverage.
That's what I was just saying. You saw that in the last play. They went at DeBrinch Johnson. They go at him again. They saw that I think he arrived a little bit early on that last play on the catch. That was a first down. But that time, I think he arrived a little bit early, too. Truman State definitely has a case for a pass interference there.
And Johnson getting the nod today at that cornerback 2 spot with TJ Easley. Jones not being able to go after his injury against the Peacocks last week.
It's a big loss for the Greyhounds.
Truman State shifting around. Tight end left side of the line now in that bunch formation. Running back is Cook. He'll take it here on 2nd down and 10. He'll get chopped down, gain about 4.
And that's what you want to see from Cook, because like we said, Cook had a pretty big struggle trying to get more involved in their last game against UND. So to come in there, get those 4 or 5 yards, that's what you want to see from him, so he can start to break out for bigger yards. Once you have the threat of the run, the pass game is going to open up a lot more.
Another 3rd down for this Bulldogs team. Cook, the running back, 3 receivers near side. Overton in motion again, as is Nathan Ryan. He's shifting over a guy. It's going to be a flag. Play is going to be played, though. Ryan will have to. They're going to get Truman State here on a legal shift. Looks like the tight end Grew was still moving when that ball was snapped.
And those plays, it really is just up to the referee whether they stop it or not. It's kind of a thing of whether the defensive lineman gets a free shot at the offense. In that case, I think you just blow that dead and give them the 5-yard penalty, because it would just erase whatever is gained on that play either way.
It pushes the Bulldogs back for a 3rd down and 11 to an obvious passing situation. Although we've seen the Hounds exploit a little bit on a halfback draw last week against Upper Iowa, so you never know what Truman State's thinking here. 3rd down and 11 for the Bulldogs in Greyhound territory. Already down by 13 early on after the Greyhounds taking about 6 plays and scored twice. Looking to throw, Hare, looking over the middle, pressured, rolling to his left side, looking to run himself, evades a tackler towards the 1st down marker, looking to stiff arm Mario Williams, getting near the sticks. I think he's going to be about 1.5 yards shy.
And this right here is 4-down territory. We talked about how important it is for them to score on this drive. And, just a good job by Dylan Hare making it possible, making it 4th and manageable instead of a 4th and long.
And just as much as the Greyhounds need to finish off drives, the Bulldogs have to finish off drives. You can't get this deep into Greyhound territory and not come away with 7 points. It's almost diminishing to that offense. It takes away a little bit of momentum. Even though you get the 3 points, you're in, for lack of a better term, settling.
4th down, and Truman State is going to go. They're 5 for 9 on 4th down conversions this season. Greyhounds showing 5 at the line. They'll bring that mini. Cook, the handoff. Cook is going to be stuffed. The Greyhounds get the 4th down hold, and they'll take over on downs.
Referee is not very generous with that spot at all.
And we talked about it. This is going to be some of that old school football at some points in the game. It comes to rush. Just a beautiful job there from the Greyhounds to absolutely stuff him there on 4th down and get the turnover on downs.
The left guard, Michael Barreto, down on the turf. While he gets checked on, we'll step aside. Greyhounds lead 13-0 on ESPN+. Barreto able to walk off the field under his own power. Hopefully all is all right with the left guard. Looking at this Greyhounds offense, though, which has scored twice in about 6 plays, been a very quick-moving offense. Quarterback Gavin Sukup, the 3 receivers Carver, Derek Gillum, running back Fataki in the offensive line, playing very well this year so far. We'll get to them here in a second after this 1st down play. Gavin Sukup sending Gillum in motion. It'll be a handoff for Sherrill up the middle. Sherrill will gain about 5, still on his feet, maybe 6, and now even 7 yards. down carry. The offensive line getting some good push there, led by Keegan Anderson, Grant Ray, Brandon Stuckey, Tyler Leopold, and Ryan Butts from left to right.
And for me, the keys of the game, these are 5 of the most important guys on the field. You see them get that push, and that's the difference between the beginning of the year where Sherrill was only getting 2 or 3 yards per carry to now, this game, he's almost about 7-8 yards per carry.
2nd down and 3. This time it's Sherrill coming to the near side. Sukup under pressure, evading a guy at the step back. Throws it to the right-hand side. A catch is going to be made. I believe they're going to rule this one a catch for the Greyhounds. It's going to be Colton Wilkie, the tight end, the starting tight end, the redshirt sophomore. Drags the toes.
That right there is what Gavin Sukup does. He creates, he's not just a pocket passer. He's going to get to that field. A phenomenal play by Gavin Sukup there to get that first down.
Let's go ahead and take a look at Truman State's defense. Looking at their defensive line, been very good this year, led by Thomas Spelling, linebackers, and Huelta and Montoya. Greyhounds 1st and 10. Pressure shown by Truman State. Wilkie gets the catch. A flag flies back where Sukup threw that football. And Truman State will suffer for a loss of about a half yard. Those defensive backs, including Marquise Jones, Connor Baxley, Robert Gould, Jackson Patterson, Dominic Grand, all back there as well.
And I started to say this after the first touchdown, but you just mentioned Dominic Grand, and I alluded to it. Interesting. Roughing the passer.
On a screen pass, too.
Move the Greyhounds forward. But kind of what I was saying, this secondary was one of the brighter spots of this defense. The front 4 is very solid, and they've done exactly what this team has needed them to do. But I look at these back 5 or 6 guys as difference makers, and the Greyhounds just came out first 2 drives and took them out of it.
So the Hounds will get 15 yards in the penalty, and they will get another fresh set of downs. Already up by 13, looking to extend that. Delayed handoff for Fataki. Fataki will get hit from behind and push forward an extra yard. Give him 4 on the first down inside run.
And we see how they're already using Fataki and Sherrill. We actually got to talk to him a little bit, and he actually compared those two to Sonic and Knuckles, the combo that we see in the NFL of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, and saying himself that he is David Montgomery and plays very similar to him. And we've seen how this little 2-headed snake has really worked so well for UIndy, as he's already been getting them both involved so early in this game.
Greyhounds have a 2nd down and 6 after a 4-yard Pataki run. Now Sherrill in the ball game. You mentioned that duo running back, and Sherrill will go in motion to the near side. Sukup, time to unload, does unleash, and this one's going to be a catch once again for Bennett. He lost the football. Ball popped high in there. They'll say he was down by contact again. Now a flag is going to fly late.
Everything at the 11, tackled by number 20.
I believe he was down right as soon as he caught that. But, yeah, a lot happened after the play. How about Gavin Sukup, though? This play stands. That's his 6th completion. He's 6 for 6. That'll put him over 150 yards on the day. As you know, he's found the end zone once.
It's going to go on Truman State again.
And those are the penalties you cannot have. You come into a hostile environment, you're already down 13. That's just a mental mistake that you cannot have. You inch the Greyhounds closer, almost giving him this touchdown on a silver platter.
So the catch does stand. It's going to be 6 for 6 days so far for Sukup as a line change on the defensive line for Truman State. But a first down and goal for the Hounds in the 6-yard line, looking to extend this to a 3-score lead already. Fataki, the running back in the game, 2 tight ends set left side of the offensive line. Alonzo Derrick at the bottom of your screen, the lone receiver. Fataki, the handoff. Fataki will not get anywhere. He'll lose a yard if anything. We'll give him no gain. Nicely done that time on the defensive line by Jacob Carmack to get back there.
And this is now where you kind of draw the question. You have such a very good rushing attack, because we're going to see Garrett Sherrill and Fataki coming in at the same time. But, you know, it's to pass or to throw. What do you do in this situation, especially with that 2-headed snake that we talk about in this
We've
backfield?
seen them utilize this lineup a lot over the past couple of weeks, putting both running backs in. You never know who's going to get it, and you never know where they're going to end up. Right here, everybody's out.
4 receivers to the bottom here. Maybe a screen pass for Sherrill. Watch out for that. Tied end in motion. Sukup. It'll be a quarterback keeper, quarterback draw, and he's not going to get anywhere.
That motion was all just decoy, trying to get the defense to bite on the left side of the field so Sukup could take it to the right. But Truman State not biting. They stay home. That was a nice stop there, and that brings up a 3rd down here and puts the Greyhounds in an interesting position.
And we look, hindsight's 20/20, but I mean, there was only 2 people on that side that Sherrill was on. If he gets that ball there, that's very likely a touchdown with 3 blockers in front.
That's what I was thinking. Charles, maybe screen pass there for Sherrill with the setup But instead, they go for the quarterback draw, 3rd down and goal at the 7 for Indianapolis. Sherrill, the running back. 3 receivers bunched up on the left side. Sukup looking that way to begin. Has some time, looking to throw over the middle. Is going to be incomplete. He had Giovanni Laurent in the end zone, but a little bit behind Laurent. A flag once again down where Sukup was.
I don't think the Greyhounds are going to get as lucky this time. This one might be a hold. Yeah.
And it will be. I would assume declined, yes. 4th down and goal. See if the Hounds look to kick it, and Andrew Herron is indeed on the field for a attempt at a field goal.
He was excited to get out of there. He's excited to get out there, make up for that missed extra point. This is about, I don't know, maybe 5-6 yards longer than what an extra point would be here at the Division II level, but still what they would consider a chip shot.
24-yard attempt for Andrew Herron, who is 8 of 10 on field goals this year, has missed one from this range this season. From the right hash is Herron. Sukup, the hold is good. Herron converts the field goal, and the score up to 16-0. The Hounds advantage. The Greyhounds, 3 drives, 3 scores so far. The Bulldogs look to answer when we come back on ESPN+. After the Greyhounds make their 3rd drive result in their 3rd straight drive of points, they'll kick it back away to the Truman State Bulldogs. Guys, the Hounds so far, 3 drives, 3 scores. The Bulldogs looking for an answer.
And the Bulldogs are going to have to find an answer. The last drive was a little bit more promising, but let's look at some positivity for the Bulldogs. In that last drive, holding them in the red zone, they made a few line changes, they made a few substitutions, and it actually ended up working very well as they got them and forced a field goal in the red zone, because a touchdown would have likely put this in a very bad situation.
Seymour once again will make it a short kick, and it'll once again be a return for Pulliam, and Pulliam will get to the 26-yard line.
Hit the ground there for a second. It was a little bit of an odd gathering of the ball, but he was able to get it in, get down without losing it. And looking back at that last drive for the Truman State Bulldogs, it's going to come down to there's so many different decisions you have to make as a coach during a game. And right there, you had the opportunity to put up 3. And I don't know, with the Greyhounds missing an extra point, that could come back to bite you. You just think about some of those decisions as you get later and later in this game. If it does get close, those 3 points could make the difference.
1st down and 10 for Truman, and 2 running backs in the backfield for the Bulldogs. Tight end in motion, and they'll look to make it Hare a keeper, and Hare will have nowhere to go again. The Greyhounds are going to be all over it once more. Only a gain of a yard for Dylan Hare.
And the thing that I'm seeing that Hare is struggling with whenever he does his read options or quarterback runs is he's running very lateral to the outside. He's not actually making a lot of progress when he goes to the outside, so it's been more like a stretch a lot in this game, and he's not actually been getting a lot of yards, or when he does break free, it's going for 10. So it's kind of that high risk, high reward, but so far it's not been working out too well for Hare.
After a gain of maybe a half yard, so 2nd down and 10 for Truman State. Tight end Grew is the one in motion. Bottom to top, Hare pump faking, looking to run now, and he'll have some room to go. Towards midfield, he slides down nicely, and that'll be a solid gain for the quarterback as he'll give Truman State a fresh set of downs.
And you realize where he ran, right down the middle of the field, no linebackers in sight. He got past that second line where even the safeties would have been standing. His ability to run the ball is what creates openings in the passing game. Whenever the secondary has to worry about not just the underneath route, but also the quarterback running, it's a little bit harder to focus on two things at once when you're going bang, bang, bang in a play.
First down for the Bulldogs. Running back Denham Cook switches sides to the right-hand side of the quarterback, and he'll get the football here on a handoff, and he'll gain some yards. I believe a flag flew. I believe it's stuck under a lineman currently.
Royster coming off that right side, top of your screen. Seemed as though he got a hold. He was calling for it.
He did indeed. It'll be a holding on the Bulldogs offensively, and that'll go on Ryan Hall, the right guard.
But see, get rid of the hold there. That down the middle, it's going to work a lot better for Truman because we saw how well it worked for Upper Iowa. We saw that especially the delayed handoff and the delayed snaps really works well against this UND defense that has had some struggles when it comes to closing the gap at times.
Well, when you think about why that is, it's because guys like Royster and Branch are getting up the field so quickly that it does open up the underneath for a running back like Hare to really thrive in. So might benefit him.
Hare, a keeper to the left-hand side on first down and 20. He'll gain about 7 of the yards back.
And so you go down the middle there, you see a lot more yards, you see a lot more of a positive there. And we also talk about it with the linebackers. Alvin Contreras, he is a lot more of a coverage linebacker. He's going to be playing a lot more in the coverage, a little bit more than he will be looking for the run game. And I think with him playing in coverage as much, it leaves the open as much, a little bit more open with Royster and, you know, breaking free so quickly.
Hare getting 7 of those 10 holding penalty yards back. Second down and 13 for the Bulldogs. 2 receivers to the bottom of your screen. Hare, a little bit of a high snap. He'll handle, look to run again on a delayed quarterback keeper. He'll get back to about a yard behind the original line of scrimmage.
You just said Contreras doesn't like to hit. He's definitely not scared to hit. That is the thing. He'll come down and lay the boom on a running back when needed. He also had the game-winning interception in that last game against Upper Iowa, a multiple-time GLVC Player of the Week. He's one of the anchors of this defense, especially considering what you lost last year and really what you've lost this season due to injury. You've lost a few key pieces, and he's proved to be a strong point of this squad.
Third down and 11 for the Bulldogs, already down by 16. Greyhounds show 6. They bring it. Hare over the middle. Pass going to be caught by Gerald Grew. Grew, a guy who torched the Greyhounds in Kirksville, gets the first down into Greyhound territory.
The biggest difference, those linemen are giving Hare time. They're giving him space to work with. Right there, the pocket collapsed, but just enough time for him to get the ball off across the middle. Usually you wouldn't want your quarterback throwing across the middle, especially this early in the game, but when it's that wide open, we've seen the Greyhounds take advantage of it. Now Truman State also trying to take advantage of that same break in the defense.
Grew had 8 catches for 147 yards in that game against the Greyhounds in late September. Nearing the end of the first quarter, running again are the Bulldogs, and not going nowhere again are the Bulldogs. That time they hand off for Elijah Stevens. He'll gain nothing.
And that right there is a good job of getting those linebackers involved in the run defense there. Doing a lot better at actually crashing down, knowing that that's a run play, that's a run down, especially with the Truman State team. First down normally means run for them. So a good job by the defense to crash in using all those members.
It's exactly what Truman State wants, though. They want the Greyhounds to expect the run so they can open up over top. That's exactly what the Greyhounds did. Everybody, all 11 guys on Truman State, that first offensive play, thought the Greyhounds were going to run the ball. They open up the top, and I think that's the difference in this game. That punch in the mouth on the first play just set the tone, and the Greyhounds are taking it from there.
The last handoff results in the end of the first quarter of play. All Hounds so far 16-0, but the Bulldogs looking to answer when we come back on ESPN+. Back here on ESPN Plus on the south side of Indianapolis, the Bulldogs trailing by 16 guys. But I think you want to see a little bit more from this tight end.
Well, they've done a good job of stretching out the defense, but that almost requires the tight end to become an extra blocker on that offensive line. That's how he's able to get out and roll out, is the tight end's the one sealing the end most of the times. But that also kind of takes the defense eyes off of him, and that's when you surprise the defense, use him, similar to how the Greyhounds use Colton Wilkie and Callan Okerson.
Second down and 10 for the Bulldogs. Pump faking a pass on the near side and throwing it at the feet of a few linemen, including Grew was in the area, and it will be an incomplete pass.
And we talk about the feet of Dylan Hare and how well he can break out of the pocket. But one of the issues that he's been falling under is there's been a lot of times where he's had to rush through his progressions and get on that outside to make a play, to make something out of nothing. And that's been something that the Bulldogs really need to focus on a little bit better, because if Dylan Hare is pressured as much as he has been, that's where mistakes are going to be made, or that's where he's going to be forced to run and limit and make this offense very one-dimensional.
Third down for this Bulldogs team, looking to keep the drive alive, down by 2 scores. Grew in motion. Hare will bootleg across the near side, throwing across his body. It's going to be a high pass. It's going to fall incomplete after being tipped in the air. Mario Williams gets the breakup on Nathan Ryan.
Now you're getting to the point where you're forcing it. The Greyhounds get you in third and deep. They know you're going to pass it. All they do is drop back an extra guy. It's that nickel position. It often falls the responsibility on Alvin Contreras to drop back in coverage. And it's really hard to pass against the Greyhounds when they drop back 6 people in coverage. It's just, you're throwing basically into a net of Greyhound hands.
Gessert to punt. Greyhounds playing safe as they should. Gessert will get it off. Punt down towards the 10, takes a backwards bounce and into the hands of the Bulldogs around the 13-yard line. The Greyhounds, another stop on defense, take it back over. And so far, guys, I've said a lot this year about this Greyhounds team. Bend but don't break.
Yeah, and we look at it, and that's one of the things, this Greyhounds defense, we've seen them give up a few yards. We've seen them give up a few penalties, give up a few first downs, but they are never out, and that's one of the things that you've always said this season I've really liked, is the bend but don't break defense, and it's showing out really well here so far as we reach the beginning of the second quarter.
First down and 10 once more for Indianapolis. They've scored on all 3 drives so far. 2 touchdowns and a field goal on the last one. The tight end in motion back to the left-hand side is Cole Bennett. Now a receiver, make that Sherrill actually in motion to the near side. It's going to be a handoff over Fataki across the other way, and Fataki might lose a yard that time as Truman State all over him, including the linebacker Logan Montoya.
And if Truman State's defense is doing anything well, they are staying home, not biting on any of the play fakes that the Greyhounds are. I guess other than that first play, maybe you could have said they bit down on the run a little bit. But other than that, they've been staying home, forcing the Greyhounds to do things a little more traditionally, more back to how they were doing at the beginning of the season.
Second down for Indianapolis. Colton Wilkie, the tight end, to the near side. Sukup has some time, looking to throw, looking to roll now. So looking downfield, flag flies underneath to Sherrill. Sherrill will maybe gain a yard, but a flag is probably going to be a hold on the Greyhounds, you would think.
I would assume. And just to kind of finish that last thought, the beginning of the season, the Greyhounds weren't winning those one-on-one battles with the receivers. The run game was not there. So how did they do it? They got Gavin Sukup out of the pocket. They got creative, and that's what we're seeing in this game. You've already played against this Truman State defense. You know what they present. You know the strong suits, and the Greyhounds and Coach Keevers will be a holding. So that's going to push them back a little bit. But Coach Keevers and his squad, all of these coordinators are great at making adjustments, whether it's the halftime, whether it's the bye week. No matter what, it seems like this Greyhounds team always gets better week by week by week. You look back to week 1 to now, this team is 10 times better.
You can say the same for Truman State as well. They began the year, I believe, 3-3, and they've rallied off a few straight wins. Second down and 17 for the Greyhounds. Took under pressure in the end zone. He lets it go, and Sherrill over his head.
That was scary, but I do want to talk about the start of the season for Truman State. They played against Butler and only lost that one 37-27. I say only because that's a D1 squad that puts together a decent team every year, and to go up there as a Division II school, that bids you well when you're playing against a squad like the Greyhounds, because you've seen the bigger size at the line, you've seen the bigger receivers, and maybe even some better running backs than what you see in the GLVC. So now should be a little more comfortable. 3rd
and 17, and a handoff for Sherrill to the far side. Sherrill will get back around the 10-yard line, I should say, and that will be the Greyhounds looking to punt presumably after a gain of a few.
And we take a look at that run game for the Greyhounds. It's not really been working as well as it's needed to be working. In the first quarter, only 13 yards between the two running backs so far in this quarter, not doing much better. And the passing game has been working very well for the Greyhounds. A lot of big plays. Those first two scripted drives, you could tell they had a script, they had a plan. So far, these last few drives, though, they've looked a little bit more one-dimensional.
Andrew Herron, the freshman play kicker and punter. He will look to get off the right foot. This one spiraling towards midfield. Deep to receive for the Bulldogs. He'll get taken down around the 49. The ball is on the ground. We'll see where the referees say it is. For the Bulldogs, that was Luke Allen, the return man, and they do retain the football.
At the 48, injury covered.
And an injury on the field as well on the Bulldogs side of things. So the fumble will go the way of the Bulldogs. They will retain the football, and getting back up for the Bulldogs, Marquise Jones, one of their cornerbacks. He'll run to the sideline, looks to be okay. So the Bulldogs avoid a disaster on the punt, and they'll have it near midfield.
It's probably a good thing that Andrew Herron is serving as a kicker and a punter, because he doesn't get too many reps as a punter. He gets out there a lot in the extra point and occasionally with a field goal, but I've always thought about that as a punter. It's got to be a little bit boring just standing on the sideline. I guess you get to watch great football if you're in a Greyhound uniform, but some of those punters, I bet they don't have too much fun.
1st and 10, Cook a handoff, Cook some space to rumble, and he'll gain about 10 for a first down.
And that is a promising run. They have not really been able to get those good runs from Cook so far this game. They've been getting those small yards. To get a first down there on that one was so needed to get his confidence back.
And how about the Truman State side? They really traveled well. The fans, the parents, they traveled well. And considering they're down 16-0, you would have thought they're winning by 30 the way they reacted that run.
1st down and 10 for the Bulldogs, down by 16. Greyhound showing some pressure. Cook, the running back, evades a tackler. Cook, once again, 10 more. Give him 9 officially, and so marking down a yard shy, but Denham Cook doing a nice job to evade a Greyhound blitz.
If he breaks that initial contact, you're in trouble. He is great at getting yards after contact, and that's why he leads the GLVC in rushing yards, is because you can touch him at the line. It doesn't matter. He's going to break through. He's going to the house.
So 2 straight solid rushes by Denham Cook, who won the GLVC rushing title this year. 2nd down and 1. Cook remains the running back behind Hare. Hare will keep. Play action, looking towards the end zone. Nathan Ryan Gavon breaks it up.
Perfect defense.
Yeah, perfect defense, a slight underthrow there, and just once again trying to get Nathan Ryan. And you see it, it's second and 1. That's where you take that shot because you're confident you're going to get that 3rd and 1, especially with Cook looking to kind of get a little bit more comfortable again. And you talk about the crowd for Truman State. Actually, yesterday they actually had a little send-off at Truman State where a lot of the fans, a lot of the parents were able to wave goodbye, say goodbye as they moved over to Indianapolis.
3rd down and 1. They use the 2nd down and short as a shot play, as a lot of teams like to do.
How about Gavon sticking the right hand in there at the perfect time, not getting the penalty and deflecting the pass?
3rd and 1. Hare keeps it, has nowhere to go. The ground swallow it up.
It's kind of hard to run against an all-out blitz. The Greyhounds send everybody but 3 people after Dylan Hare, and he had nowhere to go. And partially because the Greyhounds won at the line of scrimmage. The Greyhounds got that first push. The line was in the lap of Dylan Hare by the time he caught the snap. He realized he had to take off, nowhere to go. This is a strong defensive possession for the Greyhounds, considering how it started for Truman. That 1 10-yard play to start the drive can for any team, but UND able to kind of ride along with it and weather the storm.
On for the punt again, Gesser. This one's going to be fair, caught by Crowell around the 9-yard line. The Bulldogs, guys, they can't get past this invisible wall that is the 30-yard line right now.
Yeah, I mean, we look at it. I think that has been the struggle. It's become because of the fact that the passing game has not been working as well. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of big passes, and any passes that have worked so far have all been play action. The only time that they can ever the Greyhounds' own mistakes and bite.
Look back at the Upper Iowa versus Truman State game earlier in the year. Truman State won by 3 or 4 scores because they ran the ball very, very well.
First down, Indianapolis. Sukup, keeper, and he will throw to Caleb Carver. Carver looking to break away, and he will have a solid gain of about 20 yards. Caleb Carver, 2 big plays so far for him.
And we see the way that Truman State is using their defense. They have very clearly remembered what Fataki did to them last time, and they're playing really well on the run. That's why play action has been so open for the Greyhounds.
First down again for Indianapolis. Fataki this time does get the handoff, and he'll maybe get a half yard. Greyhounds have yet to really break away a rush so far.
And the Greyhounds have had a couple of big plays. You obviously take out that first touchdown pass, but they've had a couple of big plays. They followed it up with a run every single time, and Truman State has stuffed it. All 3 times after the Greyhounds have had a big play, the run has been stuffed at the line of scrimmage and set them up with a 2nd and 10.
No gain for Fataki. It's now Sherrill, the running back. He's in motion. Sukup, 4-man pressure. Rolling to his right, looking to throw. Back across the middle to Alonzo Derrick, who holds on for a first down.
That's a pass that makes you hold your breath as a coach. Throw him across the body, back into the defense. Not a smart pass for an average quarterback, but that's not an average quarterback there. Number 3, Gavin Sukup. He is in the Harlan Hill conversation. We'll talk about that later, but this guy, impressive.
First down and 10 again. Sherrill shrugs off 2 tacklers, gains about 3.
And Sherrill looking to get himself a little bit more involved. In his last game, he actually averaged over 10 yards per carry with 100 yards, or plus 100 yards, and he looked really good, and it's been nice to see him back and healthy. And he talked earlier in the season about how he wants to be back, how he is going to be better than ever, and he has been as advertised.
Second down and 7 for the Greyhounds, who lead by 16. They scored on 3 of their 4 drives thus far. This drive began at their own 10. They've gone 40 yards so far to midfield. Sukup once again looking to pass. Quick pass to Alonzo Derrick, who tiptoes the sideline and will go out of bounds inside the 30.
Truman State had it there, and he just ran out of bounds, just took a bad angle, and that's the little things that add up over time. The Greyhounds, they've worked on that over the season. They've worked on the little details, as have Truman, and this is where you get to show it. Truman just not exactly showing what they're made of in the first and second quarter.
And here goes Garrett Sherrill inside the red zone.
And we're starting to see the Greyhound football evolve. We're starting to see what we expect from there. Alonzo Derrick starting to get more involved this game. Sherrill starting to get more involved. That threat of Alonzo Derrick is what makes Garrett Sherrill be able to take the run a lot more, because Alonzo Derrick has been having a much better drive in this one.
Hounds on hurry up off inside the red zone again. Sukup pull towards the 10. Still. Now they'll call him down in the forward progress just near the 10-yard line.
I guess everyone on the Truman State defense, I love touchdown. They were not letting him get into the end zone off of their own player. And it sets up a shot, or a chance now for the Greyhounds to take a shot to the end zone. You're just outside that 10-yard line. They're going to go ahead and back all the chains up. Greyhounds might go for the end zone here.
2nd and 4. Instead, it's a handoff for Sherrill, who's spun down. Tucker McDowell.
And the defense from Truman, they came for one thing, and they came to stop the run. They gave up almost 200 rushing yards in their last game against UIndy, and let's just say it's not even been close to looking like that so far in the first half against them. And they may not be as good in the passing game right now, but in the rushing game, they have had a very good week of practice, as you can tell.
3rd down and 6 for Indianapolis. In the play call from the sideline, head coach Chris Keevers in his 7th year at the helm. He's led the Hounds to their 4th straight GLVC title and a 4th straight playoff appearance as well. Looking for that first win on the playoffs. Sukup over the middle into the end zone. Touchdown, Indianapolis, Marquez Gillum.
Kind of to what Charles was saying, they did so well preparing for the run. It seems like that's all they prepared for. They're so focused on the Greyhounds' 2 running backs that they're allowing the receivers to go absolutely berserk right now.
And what did we see in Upper Iowa? We saw that every single time Gavin Sukup gives the play action, there's soft coverage down the middle. Alonzo Derrick found it a lot. This time, Marquez Gillum touchdown there in this first half.
A 90-yard touchdown drive. Heron looking to cap it off with a PAT. Missed his last PAT attempt off an upright. This time he converts. The Hounds up 23-0, and the Bulldogs looking to fight back. You're watching Division II playoff football on ESPN+. The Greyhounds are rolling so far, 23-0. Four scores and 5 drives, 3 touchdowns on those four scoring drives. That one capped off by Marquise Gillum, who enters the end zone for the first time today. But the Hounds, a 90-yard touchdown drive. That one definitely their most impressive so far this ball game.
And that one felt like we got to see kind of both sides of the Greyhounds. Now, the rushing attack did have a few times where they got stuffed, but there was also a few of those 9, 10-yard plays that made it start to seem like we start to see the Greyhounds of new. And I like seeing that because when Sherrill's a threat, it leaves that soft coverage. It leaves Derek open. It leaves Gillum open. And whenever you have plays like that, offense comes really easy to this team.
Colin Seymour on to boot it back away to the Truman State Bulldogs. To Great Lakes Valley Conference teams finished first and second in the conference as Seymour kicks it to the near side, and it will be returnable, but it goes right out of bounds, does Kendall Hammond.
Heron's got a little bit lucky over the season with those kicks. It's a strategy that we saw used against them in that Findlay game, and then they kind of adopted it, kicking it to one of the up men rather than the return men.
We got to think about, Jake, for Truman State, they have one of the best kickoff units in all of Division II football. They're actually first in kickoff yards per game.
Yeah, that was where I was going. Right there, they kind of bail them out that one. They could have let go out of bounds. They would have started at the 35, 40-yard line, and that would have helped the drive out a little bit, but it's just those little things. The Greyhounds are doing better, and that's why they're finding themselves up.
Dylan Hare, once again, will keep it himself. The Greyhounds, once again, are all over it, and the ball is out. The Greyhounds think they have it. The referees say it's going to be a fumble.
They point towards Greyhounds.
It's Greyhounds football. Wow. Dylan Hare lost it.
And that is the threat of having your quarterback run as much as he has. I mean, they're not going to be as secure as having a running back. He's ran this ball almost as much as he has passed it there. And, you know, that one mistake here now giving the Greyhounds a chance. Just a few yards away from the red zone here, already up 23.
So the Hounds will take over on the first down fumble right near the red zone. A chance to really start running the score up in the first half.
47-point game here, and well, they've been as advertised here, almost at.
Charles, they were just shy of the school record. And now here we go. Here's some trickery. Sukup's line up out wide. Josh Keith in the game. The backup quarterback is now under center. Garrett Sherrill, the running back, is in motion. He'll pitch it back to Gavin Sukup, looking back across for Garrett Sherrill. There's some blockers downfield. Sherrill on the far sideline to the 10, to the 5, still on his feet for the pylon. Did he get in? He did! Garrett Sherrill to the end zone.
How about a flea flicker running back screen? That's like a double fake. We talk about the creativity of Michael Ingles in this offense. That's the offensive coordinator for this Greyhound squad. Michael Ingles, he has implemented so many plays, whether it's using the tight end in the passing game, using Garrett Sherrill to get the ball to Gavin Sukup outside of the pocket. They're just
to make it a 30-point first half for Indianapolis. His PAT is up and through. The Greyhounds pouring it on. A touchdown, force a fumble, touchdown again. 3 plays, 2 scores, and the Greyhounds leading by 30 on ESPN+. Back in Indianapolis, where it has been a great day for the home faithful. 30 points here in the mid-second quarter. The Hounds scored twice in just 3 plays, and Truman State has to find a way back into this ball game, guys.
And we talked about it coming into this game, that there was one thing that did not look like the other. Truman State second in offense, but third to last in defense, and it's showing right here as they've already given up 30 in the first half.
Kickoff returnable for Pulliam. Evades his own man, then gets trucked out of bounds.
You can tell this is still a rivalry matchup. Towns and Truman State have been 1-2 in the GLVC for, I don't know, what, the past 5, 6, maybe even 7 years here. And this is the game that you wait for every year. It used to be at the end of the season for the Greyhounds. It's now moved more towards the beginning. You get that early test, and then you even get to play McKendree as well, who some thought was going to be the third best team in the conference. That's now moved to Upper Iowa. But GLVC is getting better and better, and Truman State is also getting better and better, staying up there, competing with the Greyhounds.
Dylan Hare, first down pass. Nathan Ryan on a screen pass, and Contreras there to spit him down.
And the Bulldogs just don't look as prepared offensively. We've not seen too many deep throws or even throws above 5 yards. I mean, a lot of this game has been running RPOs. They've been trying to do read options. They have not looked as like they have as much of a game plan for this defense as the Greyhounds do for Truman State.
Bulldogs down by 30, looking for a drive. Get the ball after halves, too. You got to keep that in mind. Dylan Hare looking to throw in the second straight play. Over the middle, he'll be caught, flag flies, ball's out. They'll say it was an incomplete pass as he didn't make a football move after getting two hands in that football, but a flag is also on the turf.
We'll get that flag in a second, but Charles, kind of to what you're saying, we'll hear the penalty and then I'll get to it, but
Personal foul. Edge of the face.
It's going to be on the offense. Truman State, when it rains, it pours.
that's rough. We'll move him back, give him an extra down, though, so a little bit more maybe time to work with for the Bulldogs. But to what you were saying, one of the reasons why this offense isn't working is because they thrive off of missed tackles. That 2 plays ago, that screen out to the right side, they throw it to Nathan Ryan. That play thrives on the corner missing a tackle. If he misses the tackle, he's up the sideline. Happened a lot during GLVC for Truman, especially in that Upper Iowa game. They ran the ball well, but they were able to get outside the numbers and get the ball to their playmakers, and that was the difference. The Greyhounds just aren't missing those tackles.
2nd and 20 after a 15-yard hands to the face penalty on the Bulldogs offensively. Hare looking to the near side. Gerald Grew, the tight end, and that beautiful tackle made by the safety Mario Williams.
And we talk about it, missed tackles was what they're hoping for. Well, they have gotten almost none of those. The Greyhounds, you can tell they practice on the tackles. We not only know break cat tackles, but they have been brick walls. And it's just a great job by the Greyhounds not allowing themselves to make mistakes, which Truman State thrives off of so hard.
Another 3rd down and long for the Bulldogs. On the offensive end, and now they'll spread out the offense and send 2 receivers each way. Greyhounds D-line shifts to the right. Hare looked to throw on 3rd and 13 over the middle. It's going to be high, but caught by Grew. That's going to be near the sticks. They're going to give him some yardage, and this is going to be the 1st down.
That's a quarterback tight end connection right there. You usually see it more in the red zone, those high Grew does a great job of doing that right there. He's got 38 receptions on the season, a little over 500 yards. He's found the end zone 6 times. He only averages 46 yards per game, but that's about what you would want your tight end. You want 46 important yards.
So, and Denham Cook takes the handoff, spins, and gains about 5.
And we're seeing it there. I mean, that was such an important 1st down right there. Throwing it around the campfire of 4 defenders. And Grew just doing a good job at using his body, using those hands because he's taller than everyone in that area. And we talked about it. 48 catches on the season. 8 of those were against the Greyhounds whenever they first met, whenever he had over 100 yards. So Grew very familiar against his Greyhounds defense and very successful as well.
Truman State looking for a possible 2-for-1 before half and after half. They get the ball after half as well. Under 4 to play here in the 1st half of action. Hare will keep it, fumbled last rush, and this time he will gain some yards, but a flag and a fly again. And you can already see a Bulldog smacking his helmet. Ryan Hall, the right guard, maybe the one going to get penalized here.
In the area of a hold, but I like that we're talking about Grew because, yeah, holding, moving back 15 yards, they'll get to redo the down. But I like that we're talking about Grew because he has not been a factor in this game at all. The Greyhounds have pretty much completely eliminated him up until that catch right there. Last week, it was a big win over McKendree for Truman State. He had 7 receptions for 95 yards, found the end zone twice. got to get him involved. You have to get the ball. This is something that you see at every single level. Ohio State's great at it, just getting your playmakers out in space and allowing them to make the plays.
2nd down and 15 after a 10-yard hold on the right guard. Hare sees some space and some green turf. He'll run it and he'll slide down. Great job to avoid hitting him late.
Talk about it so much, and the fact that you want to give your playmakers those opportunities. I mean, that's what they do, and that's what Grew has done so far. I mean, you asked me before the game who needs to get involved, and Grew was one of those offensive players that we mentioned. I mean, he cooked the Greyhounds last time, and they have just not been using him as much, or at least they've been using him as a blocker more, as what we talked about in the first quarter. But we've been starting to see him get a little bit more opportunity in the second quarter, and good things.
3rd down and 10 for the Bulldogs. Hare, deep drop, looking for a shot, overthrows. There's the late flag. Eli Leopis in coverage.
And there's going to be some conversation having. Chris Keever's not exactly the happiest about that call. I mean, and the conversation is going to be, was the ball in the area at that time? And we've seen it multiple times as the pass interference for the defense is confirmed there. A lot of calls where I thought pass interference would be called were not called, and this one was one where I thought it shouldn't have been called, and it was.
That'll give them 15 yards and push them into Greyhound territory at the 45. Eli Leopis, the penalized player that time. The sophomore safeties had a very good year for the Hounds, including a multi-interception game earlier this season.
That was against Quincy. That was a nice game to watch. He was one of those playmakers that we talk about, but with just under 3 minutes to go, Truman's got to get some points up on the board, going to halftime with some momentum.
Greyhounds bring on some numbers. Hare is hit, and that's going to be picked by Jarrell Franklin.
And that right there is what we call our pressure interception right there. That ball completely taken off kilter from the pressure. Greyhounds sent everyone, get to the quarterback, force the interception.
Redshirt sophomore to Brent Johnson and Danny Royster assist Hare to are the mistakes you just cannot make against a top 10 defense in Division II.
And we talked about it, how important Dylan Hare's legs are, and that's one of those times where sometimes you need to either take a sack, try and break out, but throwing it down the middle where a bunch of Greyhound jerseys are was not the right decision there.
And the Hounds a chance to add more. Already up by 30. They have it again on 1st and 10. Still under pressure. He'll go down.
And we
spun down that time by Truman State's Thomas Spalding, defensive end.
And we see them try and do a play action. They're trying to do a play action on a delayed handoff. Was not fooled whatsoever there. A very quick sack. 2nd and 17
selected to that GLVC all-first team last year. His ability to get around the edge is something that this team thought they might have an advantage with the Greyhounds, especially in the run game. When the Greyhounds have struggled to run the ball, they've struggled offensively, but that just has not been the case today.
2nd and 17. Sukup looking to pass. Under pressure again. Evades some tacklers again, spinning around, but he's not going to evade another one. And he will get taken down again by the Bulldogs and Jack Weltha.
And I feel like that's what Truman State is doing so well, especially now they're finding the quarterback. They've done a good job pressuring D-line. It's just that coverage that's been very questionable.
That's the 30th time Sukup's been sacked this season. That was the most in the GLVC, by the way. 28 heading into this game, the most in the conference. That'll be the 2-minute timeout on the field. Greyhounds leading by 30 on ESPN+. Out of the 2-minute timeout, the Grants have 3rd down and 19. Stuka been sacked twice in a row, evades one this time. The Giovanni Laurent. Laurent slips and almost helps him, and he's still on his feet. At the 39, he goes down. Now he'll gain about 12 yards and make it about 4th and 7. But that should lead the Greyhounds to punt timeout, I believe, from the Truman State sideline to save time here as we wind down the first half.
And that's exactly what you were looking for if you're UND. You just give your punter a little bit extra room to work with, and not as close to the end zone, takes a lot of that pressure off, and you also have the chance to pin Truman State deep to make this a full 80 to 90 yard drive for them to accomplish in a little bit under 1 minute 50 seconds.
But that's also exactly what you're looking for Truman, as well as you see 2 sacks and then 1 pressure causing a quick throw there. Both sides are happy, or at least somewhat happy, with what they did there. Truman now has another opportunity to maybe swing, miss momentum to their sideline before going into the half with the ball.
Had an opportunity the last time, and it ended in a fumble. Right now, it really is about that momentum for Truman State. You got to make some adjustments in the halftime locker room. There's got to be some sort of change offensively, whether it's the offensive line, the blocking scheme, where you're running the ball, who you're passing it to, maybe passing it a little bit more for the Bulldogs. Something has to change offensively because clearly 0 points did not work.
Heron under pressure. He will get it away just in time. This one's an absolute dart. Spiraling inside the 5. It lands. It is pinned inside the 3.
What a punt. It does not get better than that.
It's the equivalent of a Steph Curry no-looker. He was on the ground whenever it hit inside the 5-yard line, and that's kind of the coveted mark for a kicker. You'll see in the stat book it's inside the 20, but they're really looking to get inside the 10, inside the 5. The more you can do that, the more appealing you look to scouts. And as a top Division II team, we've even seen a couple guys from UND, Truman State. I believe there's even a Missouri S&T player who received a tryout with an NFL team. So there's a lot of talent here in the GLVC, and you're seeing why 2 of those squads have made it here to the postseason.
Truman State pinned at their own 3-yard line after Andrew Heron. Absolute bomb. Handoff for Denham Cook. He has some room to go towards the 10 in the 11-yard line. A gain of 8 on a first down carry for Cook.
And we talked about how important that last defensive drive was for Truman State, but I mean, a lot of things have now changed there. Gonna need to try and get out of their own end zone through the run, but they need to get some passes down. But this could be a good chance to get Dylan Hare's confidence back. Even if you don't score a touchdown here, getting a few completions through the air could be a good way to get him more comfortable.
2nd and 2 for the Bulldog offense. Here's another carry for Cook, and this time a first down for him. Gain of 3.
And all throughout the season, Cook has provided that big play possibility, and the Greyhounds have taken that away and really taken away the threat of this offense. You look back to a lot of their scores in that Upper Iowa game that were longer than 30 or 40-yard touchdowns. They weren't getting into the red zone and pounding it down the throat of the other team. They were just simply making the big play.
1st and 10 for Dylan Hare over the middle. Nathan Ryan makes the catch. He'll get another first down, which under 2 minutes, a first down stops the clock.
And kind of to that point, the Greyhounds have proved to be one of the harder teams in Division II to drive down the field against. 2 others that come to mind, Ferris State and Harding. And then you have the Greyhounds right there at that number 3 spot.
1st and 10 again for Dylan Hare. Under pressure this time. He is going to go down after a few guys were there to take him down, one of them being Julian Dangeridge, the defensive tackle.
And somewhat promising from Dylan Hare that we'll see is, in the last drive, he made the throw whenever he got pressured down there, causing the interception on their own side. So now here, not causing the interception, trying to get just forward a few yards, not making that throw, and just taking the down, and likely going to just try and run out the clock and go to the 2nd or go to the 3rd with the ball.
Looks like they're content to go to halftime now, running the ball with Dylan Hare being chased down by multiple Greyhounds. He waltzes out of bounds after a gain of about 4 yards. Stops the clock with 12 seconds to go, but looks like the Bulldogs are ready to get to that locker room and try to reset.
That's probably the right decision to make. As I just said, you got to make some adjustments during the halftime break. The defense, you stopped the run. You did a great job stopping the run, but it doesn't matter if you can't stop the passing game because the Greyhounds are 10 times better at passing than they are at running the ball. Granted, as I had said, those 2 games that they struggled to run the ball, they struggled to pass, but you can't just expect them to not throw the ball down the field. The Greyhounds are great at doing that.
3rd down and 7 for the Bulldogs. They'll throw it, and it'll be a tipped up pass and fall incomplete. Looking for Adam Hall.
Almost right in the breadbasket there. Almost another interception on the tip ball there. But an interesting plan of attack right now for Truman, going for the throw despite looking like they're trying to get out of the half. And now they're going to punt it. Maybe just punt it in the sky, try and get the time down.
We'll see if the Greyhounds look to bring some pressure here.
Well, with 7 seconds and a 30-point lead, I would say the Greyhounds could be content to go to the half. But an interesting chain of events for Truman State as they run it out of bounds and then pass it, allowing the Greyhounds to get a chance to return this one.
Shorter punt, a lot of bodies in the area. It'll roll around, and once downed, it will take us to halftime, letting it roll and give them the stat inside the 20 for the punter as it's pinned down. Finally, we'll head to the halftime break. The Greyhounds a 30 ball in the first half, and Truman State yet to enter the scoreboard. 30-0 in favor of Indianapolis here in round 1 of the Division II college football playoffs on ESPN+.
hit by a linebacker. Maybe a lineman's coming from the left or right side. But Sherrill quickly gets in the air, gets back on the ground, and now we'll see if the Greyhounds use a little bit more of that creativity or if you just kind of go more simple. I think at this point you preserve the playbook. You don't want to run too many plays poked holes in pretty flimsy paper.
The Greyhounds a chance to continue that day, leading by 33, and they have the football back offensively with their star quarterback in Gavin Sukup. Third here with the Hounds. And here he'll hand it off to Fataki. Fataki breaking through the second level and then getting hit down heavily inside Bulldog territory.
See that burst of speed from Fataki? That's what earned him the starting job on this squad. What was that, week 3, week 4, where he ended up starting against
the game he broke free for the first time was at Truman in Kirksville when Cheryl went down with an injury.
That's what I was thinking. So that was when he got the first nod, and then since then he has been a staple of this offense.
Fataki looking for it here again, and he'll go right side and gain nothing this time.
That's more like what you would be expecting to see from a Truman defense. The run defense, I'd say the Greyhounds have done a much better job here in the second half in forcing the run and kind of making a point to do so. You see them giving the ball to Fataki and Cheryl a little bit more in the second half, trying not to rely as much on Gavin Sukup. It's because that's going to be so important in this next round. You look at Minnesota State, they present a good defense, but the offense is really where they provide the challenge. So this Greyhound offense is going to have to go out there and outscore Mancano.
Second down and 10 after a no-gain run for Justers Fataki. Sukup stepping up, looking to run. He has some green turf ahead of him, and he'll just waltz out of bounds after a gain of about 7.
And that's what you like to see from Sukup so much, is that he doesn't necessarily, they don't do a lot of designed QB runs. There's a lot of runs where he makes a read, realizes his read isn't there, and just says, all right, I'll take the by 3 or 4 yards, and he goes in there and gets some positive yardage.
Cheryl a little bit slow to get up now. He'll run over to the sideline. Cheryl had that injury back in that Truman State game in Kirksville.
It's a good sight to see him off the field on his own power, under his own power, I should say. But as we dip here into the last 3 or 2.5 minutes of this third quarter, I think some of these freshmen might get a little run here in the playoff game.
Third down and 3 for Gavin Sukup in the offense. Looking to throw. He's going to throw, and there's nobody in the area. The closest guy would have been the tight end in Colton Wilkie. Fourth down and 3. Sukup, you're seeing a lot of them having to step up right now because of those 2 DNs getting right there.
Something that you might not think about with the Greyhounds is they haven't played too many fourth quarters, or at least too many minutes in the fourth quarter this year. Outside of, I would say, the Findlay, the Ashland, and the Upper Iowa game. You could even throw the Truman game in there on top of that. There have been 5 or 6 games where the starters have not had to play the entire fourth quarter, and that's what allows them to be so fresh every time they step on the field.
4th and 3, and we're going to get some movement on both sides. We're going to call on the offense, and that might change the Greyhounds' idea of what they want to do here on 4th down.
That was Brandon Stuckey, the center for this Greyhound squad.
Didn't snap the ball.
Did not snap the ball. You'll hear the referee. They usually like to do the funny call of everybody. Yeah, everyone but the center messed up that time. But I'm going to be honest. I think that time it might have been on Brandon Stuckey. Sukup wasn't too happy when he clapped and did not receive the ball. Looks like you were right, though. It is going to change their mind. The extra 5 yards. It's a daunting 5 yards, and I don't think you want to give Truman State any needless momentum.
Luke Allen deep to receive, the redshirt freshman receiver. Heron, his last punt, he pinned inside the 5. This one, he'll put the point of the football down at his foot, and this one inside the 10 again. Fair caught by Allen around the 7.
And you mentioned Sukup not being happy. You see him go to the sideline. He takes off his helmet, and he screams in anger. And I think that's what I really like about Gavin Sukup. You know, a team that's up 40-7, he is a competitor. He talked about it actually last week where he said that this team is battle-tested. He said that this is not the team like old, and he is a quarterback that kind of likes to go out there. He competes. He is a fighter, and he has done a good job that, like we said, being up 40-7, still getting mad at those small mistakes, that's a good player right there. That's someone you want to lead you in a playoff series.
And to that point, you look back to some of the non-conference games over the past couple of years for the Greyhounds. This is definitely the toughest non-conference schedule they've had in the last 4 years, at least in the playoff runs they've made.
Speaking of runs, Denham Cook this time, he will gain about 6 on the first down carry. You mentioned those 2 games. There was Findlay and Ashland, both of which ended up being also a host here in Super Region 3. Ashland getting the win today, Findlay not getting the win. They fall. But 2 of the top 4 teams in the region, you played them both early on.
And you and I were at that Findlay game, and we really started to realize about halfway through that game how much that would impact the playoffs, and it really did. That win carried Findlay into the playoffs. Had they not beaten the Greyhounds, they probably would have dropped back to an unranked team after that loss to Tiffin.
Dylan Hara, keeper to the left-hand side, and he'll get taken down by the legs. Maybe a gain of a yard that time for the quarterback.
And I love that idea that Suka brings of this team being battle-tested. He was saying that the teams of old have never really gone against these teams, and that's what makes them so much better. That's what makes them such a threat in these super regions. And I think that I would agree, because they do look a lot more pressure. Now, he did say that this is some of the most that he's really played in some of the close games. I'd beg to differ. They have dominated this season, but we have seen him still beat good teams and dominate against the teams that they should have beaten.
3rd down and 2 to go for the Bulldogs offensively. Hare, Cook on the handoff. Cook looking for the 6. He's going to be a yard shy. The Greyhound defensive line gets there, including Wrigley Franklin and Diego Piche were both there.
And while we see this as a GLVC versus GLVC matchup, the GMAC is a team, or a conference, I should say, that hasn't exactly been a powerhouse in the past couple of years. Tiffin, one of the only teams that has really benefited from being in the GMAC. There's not a lot of strong teams until this year, and Findlay and Ashland have put themselves in a position to where they made it, had a better resume, and made it into the playoffs over a Minnesota State Moorhead team that may or may not have had a better resume. Who knows? But at the end of the day, the committee loved these two teams from the GMAC, and that's why we didn't see Grand Valley State this year, which might come as a shock to some D2 football fans. That's where Brian Kelly got his career started.
Gessert boots it away. Fair catch by Crowell at the 41-yard line. The Greyhounds take back over, nearing the end of the 3rd quarter of play. Like you said, Grand Valley State, that was the team that knocked the Greyhounds out last season up in Allendale.
And I saved this little stat. I had told you before, Jace, but I saved it until now because I think it bids a team like the Greyhounds or in Ashland. I think it bids them well. There has only been one repeat champion over the past 3 years between the 4 super regions. It was in Super Region 4. It was the Colorado School of Mines. They won in 2022, 2023. Since then, nobody's done it.
Sherrill, first down for the Hounds, looking for somewhere to go, but his hand in the back of a lineman, but he's going to lose 2 yards.
And that's within the domination of Ferris State. They've won 3 of the last 4 national championships at the Division II level, and even those 2 had a loss in there to Harding in the middle of that. Harding won a national championship, another one of those teams that is looking to go back to McKinney, Oklahoma. That's kind of the place everybody looks for at Division II. You look for that ESPN2 game at McKinney, and it's one of the most beautiful stadiums in all of not just Division II football, but Division I. And, well, Jace, we've got 15 more minutes here of round 1.
3rd quarter done, 4th quarter next. Greyhounds leading by 33 on ESPN+. Back in Indianapolis, 2nd down and 12 as the teams flip sides of the field. The Greyhounds controlling the ball and this game so far, leading by 33 points. Also 2 yards on the previous play before the quarter break, and Sukup will keep it. Throw, has a man, Giovanni Laurent. Laurent at the 40 makes a move to the 35, and a late flag will fly. And we'll see how this goes on. There was a little bit of tussling between Truman State and Indianapolis that time. Truman State, that was Gavin McDaniel, defensive tackle, who looked to just take down Grant Ray late there.
There's some tempers flaring.
If we take a look at that play, as it is unnecessary roughness. And we take a look at that play there, and you see they have the running back in the backfield while also having Laurent up in the field with just one safety in between there, having to pick which one he chose wrong there. Laurent finding a lot of open turf, and a great play call there to start off for the Greyhounds.
There was 2 Bulldogs in the area. They're actually going to tag Alex Medina with that penalty. And that puts the Greyhounds right in the red zone at the 20-yard line. Up by 33, tight end Bennett in motion. 2 receivers to the near side. And Clark and Laurent. It'll be a handoff over for Fataki. Fataki breaks through to the 5 as he spins down. Flag flies, though it might be coming back.
Referee signals the hold, and you can only assume that he's going to stick with that.
Indeed, he is. Push the Greyhounds back 10 yards. Been a penalty-heavy game on the field. It's been a lot of flags flying today.
And that's going to have to be something that Chris Skeevers, we already know how he is. He always talks about, discipline, and what he's definitely going to be talking about it with his boys, because this is a team obviously more than likely moving on to the next round. And, looking at that now, I mean, that's where you have to fix up these mistakes, where you could try and, nip those in the bud before they come out to play a game, especially looking at next week.
Truman State, 8 flags for 88 yards so far. Greyhounds, 5 for 41. First down and 20 for Indianapolis. Sukup prepares. Delayed handoff for Sherrill. Makes a move to the 20, towards the 15, and he'll get nabbed down around the 17-yard line, the 16-yard line for Garrett Sherrill.
And Sherrill's talked on multiple occasions about how he likes to use his O-line and kind of just play in those gaps. I mean, you kind of sit there. He stands behind the big boys there until he finds a little gap and go left, right. And then he gets himself a lot of open grass there. Sherrill, he loves his O-line, and just a very good run block there for Sherrill to find some extra yardage.
See, it works right there, but I think that was the difference between what wasn't working towards the beginning of the season. They were going too left and right and just waiting for that gap to open up, and it never opened up. Now I think the difference is Sherrill's making the hole open up.
Sherrill to the far side again, and he can't make much out of it as he gains just about 2.
And there we see him take it to the outside there, and not working well for him on that one. And we're going to see some changes here as we see 3rd and 4 on the 14-yard line. And we're going to see what they're doing. Gavin Sukup looking to his side for a play.
3rd down and 4 for Indianapolis. Getting set once more. Giovanni Laurent, Anthony Crowell, the receivers on the bottom of your screen. Sukup preparing on 3rd and 4. Blizzard from behind. Picked up by the running back. One-on-one shot for Giovanni Laurent, who can't bring it down. No flags. An incomplete pass.
Giovanni Laurent has been getting a lot of targets, especially in these last few drives. And Sukup looking for his target there, unable to make it happen. And it looks like the field goal unit is going to be coming back on the field for the Greyhounds here as they go for a 43-7 lead here in the playoffs.
31-yard attempt for Andrew Heron, who's knocked home 2 24-yarders in this game so far. There's one miscue, a missed PAT off the upright. Heron 10 of 12 on field goals this year. This one from 31 away in the left hash. Heron's kick has the leg and sneaks inside the left upright, and good. Greyhounds add to the scoreboard again, 43-7. Still 12:57 remaining in this Division II football playoff game on ESPN+. Indianapolis struggling to finish some drives right now, but still some field goals on the scoreboard. 3 of them today, and the other ones being touchdowns. 43-7 for the Greyhounds leading this game.
Got an upset. Score has just gone final. California, Pennsylvania upsets Virginia Union. They not only have the best running back, but just the all-around, or actually the second best running game. I'm not going to disrespect Harding like that. Harding's run attack is second to none. They throw the ball. I don't think they've thrown the ball more than 5 times in a game this season. They only have 42 throws on the season.
Seymour, short kick again for linebacker Logan Hammond. Hammond will go to the far side, looking to get around a tackler, gets around the first. The second one, though, is going to finally bring him out of bounds. So Hammond ran about 30 yards for about 2 yards of a gain.
Brent Johnson, the one who runs him out of bounds, and I feel like we've said Johnson's name a lot, and that's because he's filling in the shoes of TJ Easley-Jones, a Greyhound that is usually all around the field, but he's done a great job of filling those shoes today.
Bulldogs offense back on the field. They had the one touchdown drive in this half. Outside of that, not much going for them. First down and 10 for the Bulldogs from Kirksville, Missouri. Dylan Hare back to pass, pressured, looks to unload in the middle of the field, has a man open down to the 30. It's going to be caught by Jackson Overton. Longest play of the day so far for the Bulldogs. And a Greyhound late to get up.
I believe that's Mario Williams who made the tackle on the far side of the field, but you might be wondering why the starters are still in for the Greyhounds, especially after something like that happens, but it's because of the big play potential of Truman State, but also you got to kind of think ahead a little bit. This Greyhound team isn't just looking for a Super Region 3 tournament championship, or they're looking to go the whole way. They want to make it to the Final Four, and during that Final Four, there is a reseeding, and the more points you score, the more you win by. Well, the higher your seed is, and we've seen that with Ferris State the past couple of years. They've been the high-scoring team. They've received that #1 spot, but Jason, I think we're going to go ahead and step aside real quick.
Yeah, Mario Williams out on the field still. When he gets checked out, we'll step aside. Greyhounds leading by 36 here on ESPN+. Off to the sideline to be checked out. As he walks off, you see him there. Deshaun Johnson will check in his place at the safety position for the time being.
And it's not necessarily the end of the world for the Greyhounds because they've dealt with some injuries in the secondary throughout the year, so they've had these backup guys get some reps, especially with the starting squad, because just being out there with a different player here or there can kind of change things up. Just adding in a new face can change the dynamic of an entire 11 people on the field.
Elijah Stevens in motion, the running back. Hare looking for the end zone. He's going to loft it. It's going to be just about a yard or two past the intended receiver to Brent Johnson in coverage, looking for Adam Hall.
I really don't like how the Greyhounds secondary is not turning towards the ball. They don't put their eyes on the ball at all. The past 2 times that Truman State has taken shots to the end zone, neither of the corner. This time it was a corner on an island as Johnson up top, but you got to turn and try and make a play on the ball, whether it's to tip it away. That's how you avoid the pass interference, and right now it's kind of a 50-50 whether the umpire wants to call the pass interference.
Stevens on a jet sweep handoff. He evades 2 tacklers. What a move down the 20 towards the 10. Pushed out of bounds by Eli Leopis. Elijah Stevens, some nifty footwork.
And Jake, I know you like being right, and that is what we see from them. You mentioned it earlier about how they get outside the numbers and they make a man miss. And well, Jake did his scouting homework this weekend because that's exactly what we see there as we see them get in the red zone again.
This is where Truman State's offense is at its best. When it's inside the 15-yard line, Dylan Hare can roll out. The tight end is a threat. There's so many different things for the opposing defense to worry about that Dylan Hare can sometimes escape to the end zone. He can make the deep end zone throws. This is where they thrive.
2-back look with Stevens to his left, Cook to his right. He'll give to Stevens as he goes to the right side. Stevens looking for the edge. He won't find much than about 3 yards.
And just to kind of further my point, they are 33 of 36 in the red zone. That's a red zone touchdown conversions for this squad.
It'll be 2nd down and 5 from the 6-yard line. Greyhounds at the line showing about 5 or 6. A little bit of a high snap. Handoff for Cook. Cook towards the middle. Flag flies as Cook gets pushed toward the 4-yard line. The flag. See what that is, though.
Well, this is actually the perfect opportunity for me to correct myself. We've just been told that was incorrect. It's actually just 53 of 56. Am I correct in saying that?
It is 36 touchdowns and 53 tries.
I see. Whoever wrote this in there is maybe illiterate, but that's not how English works. You don't read right to left. I'm pretty sure you read left to right. But either way, this Truman team is good when it gets in the red zone, and that was probably one of the notes that Coach Keevers had for his defense was keep them out of the red zone because they're pretty much not necessarily automatic, but I think they're a little bit more effective in there, and that's how they get Grew involved. And he has not been involved today. They have not been in the red zone, and I think it's probably not a coincidence those two things have happened today.
And you talk about it, getting Grew involved, also getting Nathan Ryan involved, a guy that has 8 touchdowns, like we mentioned, 4th in the GLVC. That's where he is. He's a 6'4" frame, so he gets open a lot in the end zone too.
Empty backfield now for Hare on 2nd and 15. Looking left. Unloads over the middle to Overton as he's taken down by Alvin Contreras alongside Nick Johnson playing corner right now as well. It'll be a gain back to the 6-yard line of 10.
And this is another guy that needs to get more involved. Overton, of course, 2024 Freshman of the Year in the GLVC, and he has been a very good pickup for Truman State, not getting as much involved probably not getting as involved as they would like this season, and seeing him there, he's had a few plays, including the big play earlier in the drive here, and looking like they're trying to find Overton a little bit more coming in this drive.
3rd down and 5, the first down marker at the 1-yard line. Hare looking towards the end zone, unloads for Gerald Grew. Grew looking for the goal line. It's going to be a half-yard shy, but that's going to be enough for a first down.
It'll give them 4 fresh chances inside the 1-yard line, but as the Greyhounds have proved, they're a pretty tough defense, and Truman State going to have to avoid the mistakes. You don't want a penalty here. Just try and run it up the middle, in my opinion. We've seen it work, and we've also seen Dylan Hare use his legs in a lot of different situations, so maybe the Greyhounds are expecting a run up the middle. You pull it and run to the outside with Dylan Hare. I'd just like to see a little bit more creativity rather than just the basic run up the middle. But
at the 1, throwing over the top for Nathan Ryan, who gets it with one hand. Did he keep the feet in bound? He did. Nathan Ryan, a one-handed snap.
Is that enough creativity for you,
There's
Jay?
your creativity right there. That's exactly what we were calling for. Everybody jumped down and bit on the run, and it almost didn't work. It almost did not work. The Greyhounds had a safety up there, almost made the play, and that was just a great catch. I don't know that was necessarily the best throw, but that was kind of a Fernando Mendoza to Omar Cooper Jr.-esque throw right there where the receiver goes up and makes a play.
On for the point after Diego Perez. Hold down after a little bit of a high snap. Perez converts the extra point, and the score now 43-14. The Hounds still in full control. Look at the football when we come back here on ESPN+. Back in Indianapolis, here on the south side, about 10 minutes south of downtown Indy. And the Greyhounds, the host of today's first-round matchup between two GLVC schools. They're in full control here, 43-14. Truman State, though, finding some offensive rhythm currently, guys.
And I think the thing that I'm seeing a lot more that I'm liking is we talked about how much they were trying to force the run game through Dylan Hare. Now we're kind of seeing them use it more as a safety blanket and actually letting him unleash the ball.
Calvaruso kicks off. The Greyhounds Turning it, having some room to go to the 50, down to the 40, one man to beat, here he goes, 30, 20, 10, Anthony Crowell to the house.
And we mentioned it before, when the Truman State Bulldogs take a jab, the Greyhounds come back and hit a left and a right hook, and that one may be just a few more punches. That might be a knockout for the Greyhounds here.
An extra point away from a 50 ball in the playoffs.
Are we talking?
They're joining great company. There's already been a couple of 50-point games. Ferris puts up 65. Kutztown puts up 52. There's even a couple other teams that have a chance. Harding as well as Newberry. Newberry just ended with 45, though, so Greyhounds will outscore them. A lot of high-scoring blowouts today, but also a few good games in there.
Aaron, extra point, good, and the Greyhounds have 50. 50-14, Anthony Crowell goes 70 yards on the kickoff return touchdown, and the Greyhounds back on top by 36 points on ESPN+. A whole lot of Hounds so far today. 50-14, their advantage. With 9:12 to go, Truman State trying to at least get some kind of spark going. They have scored 2 touchdown drives in this game, and Charles probably dead in the water after that kickoff return touchdown if they weren't already, but at least they're finding some rhythm right now. Yeah,
and Truman State, they look a lot better. Just like the Greyhounds, once again, they have just looked better. And that's been the thing. Truman State looks good. Greyhounds look great.
Seymour kicks off. Hammond gets it, almost undercut by his own man, and he'll get up towards the 35-yard line.
And Truman State is having some positive vibes on their drives. They're looking a little bit better offensively. They're starting to unleash it through the air a little bit more. It's just a little bit too little too late being down 50-14 in the fourth.
I started to talk about it a little bit in that first possession for Truman State. It seemed as though they were trying to feel the Greyhounds out and just see maybe where they could throw those punches. And that works in some games, but not against this game, or not against this team, especially when they come out and punch you in the mouth. Their first play of the game, they put up 7 points. You got to come up and kind of answer with a similar result.
Hare looking to throw on first down. Plenty of time. Unloads one to Nathan Ryan, and Ryan inside the 30. Some explosive plays for Truman State.
It's the second time that he's had longer than 3 or 4 seconds in the pocket. He steps up, and Hare's pocket presence is pretty solid. It's just this Greyhound front four has done a good job of either forcing him out of the pocket or just collapsing the pocket on top of him.
And can we just acknowledge how well the post route has been working for them? I mean, that post route has been open, or at least close to open, so many times this game.
First and 10 to the 28-yard line of Indianapolis. Hare, quick throw this time for Grew. Grew bounces off 2 tacklers and gains a few extras. 9 yards for Grew.
I just think we should have been seeing this way earlier from Truman State. It's not like they haven't been doing this all season, and it's not like they didn't know it was going to work. I would have loved to have seen a drive like this or like the last one coming out of the half, maybe setting the tone a little bit differently, the same way the Greyhounds did in the first half. You look at that and you say, we're down by 30 heading into the break. You might look at that as an or you can't come back from that, but if the Greyhounds can score 30 points in the first half, you can score 30 in the second. No game is truly over. Do have an injured Greyhound, but no game is really over. And I think back to when Louisville played Virginia in basketball. They were down by 5 with 1.2 seconds on the clock. Somehow they score 5 points in those 1.2 seconds, and they win that. Ever since I saw that, I realized that no game is ever over until there's triple zeros on the clock.
And yeah, and you mentioned kind of like how this team has looked and how we wanted them to see. If you see the Greyhounds versus Truman in their last game. Truman actually outpassed them in their last game despite losing that game. So we know that they can pass the ball, especially against this defense.
2nd and 1 after Jalen Wilson walks up under his own power, the linebacker. Hare under pressure, and down he will go. A number of hounds. The pack gets back there.
And I like that you mentioned that, because I saw a very similar thing in that Upper Iowa game that UIndy played. Upper Iowa outpassed the Greyhounds, but they found a way to do enough to get the win. That was the same thing against Truman State. And that's why I think you favor a team like UIndy, who's played a couple of tough teams and a couple of ranked teams as well, and you might put their resume over a team that maybe didn't end the season so well, and obviously not in the rankings, at least 1 through 8, but when you get to that Final Four, a big win like this plays in the Greyhounds' favor.
Combined sack for Devon Watson and TJ Cawthorn that time. 3rd and 5 for Dylan Hare. Lofts one high for Gru. Gru can't bring it down on the right sideline, and Truman State facing a 4th down and 5.
And you mentioned the Greyhounds and kind of like how they've been ending seasons. Well, let's take a look at how they've been these past few seasons, with them looking like they're going to be securing home field advantage for another round. The Greyhounds have not lost a home GOVC game, actually a home game in general, since 2023 outside of the playoffs. So this team has been phenomenal at home, and they have looked very, very strong.
4th down and 5 for Truman State. They'll spread out the receivers. Looking to throw Hare on a 4th down conversion attempt over the middle is going to be incomplete. And there's the flag from the far sideline.
He's playing lawn darts over there. He was trying to outthrow Dylan Hare on that pass attempt as it sails out of bounds. And kind of to what Charles is saying, there have only been 2 losses over the past 3 years here at Key Stadium. One of those to McKendree on senior day, and then another one of those to Saginaw Valley State. It was a rainy day. Gavin Sukup did not play his best football, and the Greyhounds fell. And Saginaw Valley State has been one of those upset teams, or teams with upset potential. They almost took down Ferris State this year. They almost ruined the Greyhounds' chances of making the playoffs last year just because the non-conference schedule was so weak. We didn't know how the committee was going to take all of that into consideration. Luckily, they did make it in, and, well, everybody got to see Greyhound football again, and they're going to get to see more of that, at least one more round of it.
1st down and 10 for the Bulldogs, down by 36 here in the first round of the playoffs. Handoff for Elijah Stevens. Jukes around a tackler, and he'll gain about 8 on 1st down.
While we do celebrate the Greyhounds advancing to the next round, you also have to celebrate the
100%.
great season that Truman State has had, their first NCAA tournament bid since 1994. 31 years since this squad has been in this position, and granted, they get put in probably one of the toughest environments, or maybe not environments, but one of the toughest teams to play against in the region.
Ryan in motion back across the near side. Handoff for Cook, and that's the story of the day for Cook so far. Nowhere to go for the superstar.
And we'll keep it going with Cook. He's been the star of this offense alongside Dylan Hare. He's currently 2nd in the GLVC in rushing touchdowns. I guess he ended the season as 2nd best in the GLVC in rushing touchdowns, and he led the GLVC in rushing yards. So I think that all but gives him the rushing crown in the GLVC. We saw Southwest Baptist's, a former Greyhound, Kamau Ransom, come away with the Triple Crown for receiving, which is pretty impressive. You don't see that all the time. I know Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson might make it seem easy, but it's pretty hard.
Flag flies as the snap happens. Another flag flies during the play as Ryan makes the catch for a 1st down. So 2 things to sort through as laundry is all over the turf so far.
You can assume that 2nd penalty that flew in from behind the line of scrimmage was going to be a hold, but I'm interested to see what the far side was because it did come from
a pre-snap thing.
Yeah,
maybe illegal
snap.
motion.
I'm thinking we might see 2 offensive penalties here.
And that would be backbreaking for Truman State. They've worked their way inside the 15-yard line, and they're knocking on the door. If that catch would have stood, they would have been inside the 5.
With the official ruling.
They're asking Keevers what he would like
he
to
said
decline and what he'd like to
accept.
accept.
It's going to be both on Truman State here. Decline one of them. See what the
I think they just
other one
declined
is.
both of them and are going to.
4th down.
Yeah, so that'll bring up fourth down.
Oh, did Ryan drop the ball on the catch on the reception?
Would assume so, unless that's going to be the
Gonna say, 'cause I
talk
thought
the
Ryan had
referees
it.
have, because there was a second part to that play. If that brings up first down, then maybe you do want to accept that if you're Coach Keevers.
Correct. Result. Yeah. Holding off. Replay third down.
So they do accept it now. So I guess the other flag did not get called.
Unfortunately, we can't understand what the referee is saying, whether it's wind or mic connection. We seem to always have an issue here understanding what the referee is saying. But with the ball moving back, I think we can safely say that 10-yard penalty was assessed on a hold, which the Greyhounds were not necessarily forced to accept, but it's one of those plays where you either don't accept it and it's a first down, or you do accept it and it sets up third and about 13 yards.
3rd and 13, like you said, to go for Truman State here. Winding the clock down towards the waning moments of this first-round game. Gerald Grew, the tight end, to the top of your screen. Dylan here in the middle of it, looking to unload. Pressured, stays on his feet, still looking. Ball's free on the ground. A chase for it, and Truman State will pick it back up. Their offensive lineman will hop back on it that time, Oliver Sevick.
And just not able to create enough. And he has been under pressure a lot this game. And he has had some plays where the blocking has been next to perfect. And I think a lot of it is just the D-line of the Greyhounds. I mean, that is a gang mentality. There's a few people that you can point out that you could say, hey, these guys are superstars. But all 4 people, whether it's a starter's bench, they go after the quarterback in a gang mentality. And that's worked really, really well.
Chasing that time was David Wooski.
Redshirt freshman out of Frankfort, Illinois, gets into the backfield and makes the play. He's the one at the top of that defensive line, number 90 up there, got around the edge. And I think another thing to look at is how well this front 5 has played for the Greyhounds against a pretty solid offensive line for Truman State. Right now, you're trying to give yourself a little more room, I think, if you're Truman State.
I think that was a purposeful delay of game.
Yeah, you need a little. Usually, anytime you're on your side of the 50-yard line, we talk about that being a gray area in Division II football, because you get into about that 35 to 50-yard field goal range. You're a little bit too close to punt it. It really brings up a lot of issues early in the game. Right now, just making some space for yourself.
4th and 31 as they boot it away. This one lofting towards the end zone, and it will be caught at the end zone and just falling into that gray paint. So that'll be a touchback and give the Greyhounds the football on their own end of things. They're going to place at the 1-yard line, so hold on a second. You would think that he was in the end zone with that football.
The ball fell in the end zone after he caught it. It should be a touchback, and I think the other referee is going to tell him that, because that is incorrect.
His foot was in the end zone with the football in his hands.
It doesn't matter. The ball never came back and was secured in play. You can touch it. Someone has to secure it in play for it to be downed.
The crowd getting into it a little bit here. The first time we've heard them all day.
Yeah, surprisingly for a home game here at Indianapolis, I would say there's a pretty much mirrored crowd on the other side. And it is going to be a touchback. I wasn't even considering that as a question. I was hoping they would make the correction there. And that's the difference between those 5 yards. You take another delay a game penalty, you're back to your own 45-yard line, you kick it off, and now that would have put the Greyhounds at the 1-yard line.
Media timeout on the field, so we'll step aside. 4:37 to play in the 4th and final quarter. Greyhounds on top 50-14 on ESPN+.
1 of 3 student athletes have experienced betting-related harassment. Root for your team. Get crazy when the buzzer sounds. Don't harass anybody because you lost a bet.
Out of the media timeout, the Greyhounds control, and unit number 2 in the game, quarterback Josh Keith, running back Colin Price, and the second unit on this Greyhounds offense enters the game for some playoff action.
Keith has gotten to see
A lot of snaps.
more minutes and more snaps than you would expect for a backup quarterback.
Keith looking to hand off for the big back Colin Price. We know what he can do with the football in his hands.
I've said this multiple times. They need to ban him from the fourth quarter just running out the clock. He's too good. He runs it right at the linebackers, runs them over. Then he goes and hunts down the safety. He runs over the safety, and then he's like, all right, I guess I'll cruise into the end zone at the end of it. We've seen him do that 3 games this year where he's barreled for a 50-yard touchdown. Yeah, it's crazy.
And he's a big boy, too, so you see him coming by at you, and he likes contact. He craves it.
I've always imagined, what if the Greyhounds use him as like a third down kind of back?
I thought so, too, and especially how they use Devin Nelson under the center in that tush-push formation. I think he would be great in that.
See if Bryce gets more run here after a 9-yard gain. He will. Here he goes. There you see him trying to bully over a guy, and it ends up working in the end for a first down.
I like how you mentioned that he's a big boy, because he really isn't. If you see him walking around campus, he does not present himself as the biggest, strongest running back. He's not walking around like Derrick Henry. But, man, you can almost feel it up here when he hits those linebackers. It's a hard hit.
He's more aggressive than he looks, for sure.
Yeah, and he's one of those running backs that has a very calm manner. You kind of see him on the sideline. It's like as soon as he goes in during crunch time, he's like sniffs smelling salts, and he comes out there and just absolutely bulldozes over people.
That is a perfect analogy. It's like he's always sniffing. It's like they have it it's like a carrot on a stick, but it's a smelling salt in front of him.
Keith, Price, handoff, Price bullying over again, and he's going to push forward an extra few yards for the running back, give him 7.
It's like a bull in a china shop there, and he is just absolutely forcing his way through. And you got to like seeing this, though, because you're going to see he's going to allow himself to play in more serious situations the more that he does things like this.
We saw him last week against Upper Iowa. He was in the game in the second quarter for a carry, for a short yard situation.
And especially in a game like today where you see your 2 starting running backs struggle a little more than you might have expected, maybe you do throw them in there and just change it up, give the defense a different look, because they're not watching this late into the film. The starters are out. They're clicking the film off.
Now here's Devin Nelson, the other running back. He'll get a touch here, and he'll only gain a yard or 2.
And we can now open that up to some of these ideas, because we talk about Fataki and how he's kind of become the more power back, but he's not necessarily as much of a power back either. The reason that he gets so much extra yardage is because he plays so low to the ground. The way that Price plays, he plays more like a power back. This could open up a lot more opportunities. We've seen these 3-man running back cores that have worked really well. I think of the San Francisco 49ers Super Bowl teams back in the day with Raheem Mostert, Jarrett McKinnon, and others.
2-minute timeout on the field. We'll go ahead and take one with them. Greyhounds by 36 on ESPN+. Back in Indianapolis, the Greyhounds, one of the second unit right now, Jake.
And you get to see a lot of youth. We'll get into it after this play, not just for the Greyhounds, but also you get another year out of a lot of people if you're a Truman State fan.
2nd and 3, handoff for Devin Nelson. Here goes Nelson, 40, 30, 20. We'll see if he goes down towards the 10. Nope, he'll score. Devin Nelson goes 58 yards, and the Greyhounds pour it on some more.
58 yards, completely untouched there, and you see he just finds his gap and he just goes. We talked about Price's ability of getting 50-yard runs in the fourth quarter. How about Nelson for you?
Devin Nelson doesn't want to hear about the future. He doesn't care. He said, we're here right now winning playoff games. Indy on their way to the second round, just 152 away, Jace.
And on for another extra point attempt, Andrew Herron. Greyhounds looking for a 57-point outing, which would be the second most of any team today in the Division II football playoff first round. Herons extra point up and good. Keep it here through this timeout. And Jake, 57 points on the board, just 5 points shy of the biggest output today being Ferris State. Jake, but this youth getting a chance to run and literally running to the house.
And you see Josh Keith out there. It's not necessarily like he's going to come in and be a Gavin Sukup caliber player the first time he steps on the field, but it's the reps that he's getting here against a first-string defense in the playoffs. He can go home and say, I played in a playoff game, a Division II playoff game on ESPN+, and that's something to brag about. And then you look at Truman State, they're going to be a solid squad next year. They're returning a lot. This entire offensive line, young. You got 4 sophomores and a redshirt freshman, so pretty much 5 sophomores that'll be returning for their 3rd season here with Truman State. Their quarterback's going to be in his senior year. You do lose Denham Cook, which is a big loss, but you got a couple of other guys that are going to fill in, and that opens up room in the transfer portal to make some moves. And then this receiving core is probably the last thing we'll look at. You have 3 sophomores, including the tight end and a junior in Nathan Ryan, who kind of serves as the senior leader of this receiving squad. Truman State's going to present a tough challenge to any defense, not just in the GLVC next year.
And the Hounds will kick it off again to the Bulldogs, and Colin Seymour's end over end kick to the up man, and Logan Hammond, the linebacker, who got a lot of run today, and Colin Price making the tackle. Who else would it be?
And you see the crowd, or excuse me, not even the crowd, his teammates getting excited for him. That's something the Greyhounds do well. We saw it a lot in Quincy. There was a point in that game where it started raining. The Greyhounds had just gotten an interception. It was dead there. But the only thing moving in that entire vicinity of the field was the Greyhound bench. They were jumping. They were excited, getting hyped for their teammates. They bring the energy no matter where they go, and that's allowed them to compete in places such as Grand Valley State last year.
1st and 10, past Nathan Ryan. Nathan Ryan spun down after a near first down. They'll give him the 10 yards, make it 11 for Ryan.
And we take a look at Nathan Ryan, one of the receivers that we really wanted to highlight into this game. And quite simply, he was not used as much as we hoped to. That's actually one of my keys of the game, was get him and get Denham Cook going. And unfortunately for them, not able to get them going a lot. They did pressure Sukup a decent amount, actually, this game, a lot more than we would expect. But Sukup's still doing a good job getting through that pressure here, and that's part of the reason why the Greyhounds are doing so well.
Minute 20 to go. Hand off for Truman State. It's going to be Tim Johnson in the game for the first time, and he'll gain about 7 yards on the handoff. The senior running back getting a touch here.
And the clock is winding down. It looks like Truman State is waving the white flag and allow this one to kind of go out. And a very good season from them, like you mentioned, first time since 1994 in a playoff game. Very, very big stakes for them, and they have done they put up a good effort. We've seen the flashes of what could be a very good team here.
2nd and 3 for the Bulldogs as we close things out. Johnson again up the middle. He'll get a first down. I'll stop the clock momentarily.
And continuing what I said, we see those flashes. We saw some of the passes. You talk about the fact that majority of them are coming back next year, and this team has so much potential to now go into this next year, hit the transfer portal hard. You want to play for Truman State. They hit their recruiting hard. They're in a part of my pipeline from where I grew up, so I know a lot of the people that they hit. They even hit my own brother, and this is one of those things where you see they're going to continue to hit that, and they're going to have a chance to find some more people.
And you look at this season, coming into this game, Truman State's on a 6-game win streak. After that loss to the Greyhounds, they turned the season around and found their way into the playoffs, partially due to that big win over Upper Iowa. They won by double digits. The Greyhounds only won by 7.
And last handoff for Truman State and Keevers, and the Greyhounds finally get that elusive playoff win. 3 straight years of first-round losses finally overcome the stoppages. They win today, they move on to next week, and guess what? They get to stay home in Indianapolis to take on Minnesota State Mankato.
And what a game from the Greyhounds there. Greyhounds looked good on all ends of the ball. This is #1 team offensively and defensively in the GLVC, and they showed why. They're getting stops on defense, getting takeaways on defense, a lot of touchdowns, including a first play touchdown. The Greyhounds came as advertised, and we've seen this with playoff games. We've seen how some of these teams can come in, look super good, and then come out and not look as good. This was not the case for the Greyhounds, scoring even more than what they averaged all season.
Taking a look at some of these final stats, Greyhounds quarterback Gavin Sukup goes 17 of 22, 339 yards, 3 touchdowns, no miscues for the senior quarterback. He also rushed a little bit, not too much though on the ground. He had 6 carries, -3 yards, including those sacks he had to take. On the ground, Garrett Sherrill had 10 for 42 yards, but the main carrier today, in terms of yardage, 61 yards on that 58-yard touchdown run for Devin Nelson. Receiving-wise, the leading receiver was Caleb Carver. He had that big touchdown to begin the game, 121 yards on 4 receptions and a touchdown for him, and also a touchdown through the air, receiving-wise, for Marquez Gillum and for Garrett Sherrill, both who had 1 catch for a touchdown. For Truman State, they had, in terms of passing, Dylan Hare went 16 of 29, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, as those equaled each other out. He also ran for 45 yards on the ground. Denham Cook coming into the game, the GLVC rushing champion, 14 attempts, 65 yards. The big thing for the Greyhounds was stopping that run, and they did just that today. And the 2 head running backs, or ball carriers, of Dylan Hare and Denham Cook. Receiving-wise, Nathan Ryan had 66 yards, touchdown. Adam Hall, 34, and a touchdown. And then Jackson Overton had 48 yards. Gerald Grew, who had 127 yards against the Greyhounds earlier this year, only 6 catches for 60 yards this time out. Anything stick out to you right now, Jake, while reading through these stats?
Well, the Greyhounds came out and improved on and learned from their mistakes last year. You think about what comes with making it to the playoffs 4 years in a row. That's 4 years of experience. Last year, the Greyhounds spent too much time feeling Grand Valley State out. It was like the first quarter and a half or so of that game, they wouldn't touch each other with 10-foot poles, and now the Greyhounds come out, first play of the game, down the field they go, and that got things started. You open it up with a big play, you set the tone, and that is really what was the difference, in my opinion. The Greyhounds set the tone, kept that tone the entire game, and it was a tone of domination.
Charles, as we close things out here, the Greyhounds 57-14 winners in the first round of the playoffs. What are your final thoughts? And heading into next week, how do the Greyhounds keep improving upon this to take on a very good Minnesota State team?
I think that Gavin Sukup said it best. This team is battle-tested, and it showed. They went into a playoff game, and it really did show that they have been here before. This is a team that has been here recently. They've played against better teams, and they took a playoff team and dominated against them. Now, they were always the favorite, but for them to come in and win in this manner, to me, shows a lot and tells a lot and has a lot to look forward to for the next week.
And then, Jake, for you, any final thoughts or concerns heading into next week?
I think the biggest concern for me is the run game. You look at the run game for the Greyhounds, you take out that run from Devin Nelson, it's not great. The Greyhounds had under 100 yards rushing, 81 to be exact, minus that Devin Nelson touchdown. So I'm looking at that run game against a Minnesota State team that's going to look to take away the pass from Gavin Sukup. They're going to have to find a way to get it done on the ground. We've seen them do it, but can they do it against a great team in Minnesota State, Mankato?
The Greyhounds will be home again next week at Key Stadium to take on Minnesota State Mankato in a Super Region 3 semifinal matchup. The Hounds in that round for the first time since 2018, looking to build off of this playoff win. So we'll see him again next week. For our entire production crew, Mac Whistle directing things today with all the graphics and all of that. Charles Foster and Jake Helper for providing color analysis to our entire camera crew as well. Big thanks to everyone who made today possible here on ESPN Plus. The Greyhounds win 57-14 and move on to play again next week.